Welcome to the Purposely Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast presented by Boss Girl Creative. This is episode number 455. Today, I am talking about what it means to live with courage. Now let's dive in. Have you already found business success but feel lonely at the top? Or do you feel like you're at a place in your business where others just don't get it? Or maybe you feel like you have to make yourself smaller in order for others to not feel less than. Or maybe just a little bit of all three. But with all that said, there is good news because I've been there and I see you, sister. I'm Taylor Bradford, the torchbearer of this podcast and sisterhood, and I'm here to lead and inspire you to stay purposely aligned in the success you have found and provide you with support, guidance, and a sisterhood to keep going. Because I do get it. Your business journey isn't meant to be traveled alone. So grab a notebook, your favorite pen, and a bevy, and let's dive into this together with this latest podcast episode. Welcome to the Purposely Aligned Entrepreneur Podcast presented by Boss Girl Creative and me. Hello, welcome to episode 455. I'm your host, Taylor Bradford. Thank you so much for being here, for pressing play, for listening to this episode. Before I dive into the meat of what it means to live a life of courage or with courage, let's get through some announcements. First up, my planner, my 90-day undated planner is now available for sale in the paperback version. You can grab it on Amazon. Go to bossgirlcreative.com/BGC planner. That's bossgirlcreative.com/BGC planner to grab a copy. And I'm really excited. I'm also working on a new cover version of it, but just to get that baby out into the world was kind of a tough feat. But here we are. And it's funny how people say how easy it is to do things through Amazon, and it's really not that easy. You would think it would be, but it's really not. And I understand Amazon has a lot of standards. And if you listen to last week's episode, you'll hear me talk about some tips with working with KDP. So the hardback is coming. I'm still just waiting on the actual proof to get into my hands so that I can say, okay, yes, it's totally fine now. Let's get this one for sale as well. And I'm looking forward to exploring an illustrated version of the actual cover. So stay tuned for that. Brand new Facebook community. If you haven't gotten yourself into the group, I would love to have you in there. And that is bossgirlcreative.com/community. And I would love for you to get yourself into the community, answer the questions. You've got to answer all of the questions in order for me to allow you in. And I do want you in, so please answer the questions because I would love to help nurture you in your business and whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish in your life. And so let's dive into this week's social media headlines to find out what's been going on in social media world. Social media headline number 1, Meta expands access to Instagram's creator marketplace. New ways to find Instagram influencers to work with on your campaigns. Social media headline number 2, X, formerly known as Twitter, says that there are now more than 1 million open jobs posted in their app. X hiring has seen rapid growth since being rolled out to all premium users. Social media headline number 3, YouTube marks new milestone in connected TV viewing, adds TV channel pages. And finally, Instagram tests options to create alternate image backgrounds and facilitate in-stream orders. And that wraps up this week's social media headlines. I do have a quick thing to say about the world of Instagram as far as a couple of accounts I follow. One particular account that I follow is Sharon Says So, Sharon McMahon. And I'm concerned for her because she's already putting some stuff out on Instagram, specifically through her main channel at Sharon Says So, but also her book club that I pay to be a part of, that her account and any account that is news-based will be basically shuttered as we get closer to the election. And I'm sad for her and for anyone else that will be affected because of the stance that Meta is taking regarding news. And when there are some really wholesome news channels out on Instagram and I'm sure Facebook. So I'm really sad to hear that. So if you have a favorite news platform that you actively pay attention to through Instagram, please turn on notifications for that particular person so that you continue to receive their content, because they're going to continue posting, but they're just going to be shuttered, which makes me really sad. And I don't want to see that happen for the really good guys who are sharing unbiased news through the Meta platforms. That's one. So let's talk about an update for my social experiment. I am continuing to keep on trucking. There's not been a whole lot of change. There's been a few more followers, which has been good. I did implement, starting last week, a new strategy as far as where or how I am finding the trending audio. And so I've just put this hard and fast that the audio itself from the original creator needs to have already had 3 million views, but less than 1,000 uses. So I just started that probably this past weekend. So there's not been enough time in the app to see how well that's doing. But that is something that I just decided that I would do to see if that moves the needle. Because again, I am studying other accounts that are doing similar things. And you can see at what point, if you start in their very, very early content, you can see where they go viral. And that's really the leg that you need. You need the leg of being able to go viral, which you can't predict. You don't know what is going to do that. You just set yourself up and your account up to do that as best as you can. So that is the new tactic that I am testing. And outside of that, that's the update. So last week, I had the opportunity to attend a Cowgirl Connection networking event that had as speaker Courtney D. Hoff, who is actually hosting the Fancy Lady Cowgirl event coming up in April that Boss Girl Creative and Sugar Creek have co-sponsored financially, and I'm really looking forward to the event. But I had the opportunity to go hear Courtney in person and have an opportunity to actually meet her in person, considering I gave her a good chunk of money to sponsor her event. And so she was speaking at Cowgirl Connection, which was being hosted by the Cowgirl Hall of Fame in Fort Worth. And her platform that she talks about, or that she teaches on or speaks within, is being legendary as a cowgirl and kind of what that means, and being the spirit of the cowgirl, or having the spirit of the cowgirl, regardless of whether or not you have animals, a ranch, you're a working cowgirl. It really, that part doesn't matter. And with the resurgence of just the cowboy mentality and lifestyle that we've seen recently in mainstream, we've got Beyonce with her most recent single drop, or her album drop, and which is a very catchy tune. It's a beautiful song. And Beyonce herself is from Houston, grew up going to the Houston rodeo, and is no new person to the scene of country music. For sure, she may not have country music as her backstory or her backline, but it doesn't mean that she didn't grow up around it or be inspired by it. So good on her for that. And then we saw Louis Vuitton walking with Western fashion accents in the most recent spring fashion show. And we've got Ralph Lauren with an artist in residency that has partnered with a Native American and their textiles. And so we're really kind of seeing a resurgence come through on the mainstream side of just fashion in general, and then music. And it's a beautiful thing. And so Courtney's platform, she talks about living a legendary life through the cowgirl spirit. And I was so moved by a story that she presented to everyone in the room. And it has to do with the Kentucky Derby. And this is what I mean by living a life with courage. Like, if you could, set everything aside and you could truly live a life of courage, and you had the courage to do whatever it took to be what it is that you want to be, or to gain whatever it is that you want to gain, or to sell whatever it is that you want to sell, or just fill in the blank. If nothing could hold you back and you had courage, what would you do? And I want you to really ponder that. If nothing could hold you back, if the playing field were truly level, like everybody was at zero, what would you do? What would you do differently? What would you have the courage to be? And let me tell you, the horse is named Mind That Bird. 2009 Kentucky Derby. I'm honestly not 100% certain how the horse came to even be in the Kentucky Derby, other than a horse failed to meet a standard or got hurt and a slot opened up. That's ultimately how Mind That Bird got into the Kentucky Derby. This horse is from New Mexico. Mind That Bird was bought for $9,500 and actually towed to Churchill Downs from New Mexico in a horse trailer. Now, if you know anything about the Kentucky Derby or just the horse racing world, the top horses are legitimately arriving in full style, like airplanes. These horses are traveling in airplanes. The horses are owned by sheiks. The horses are owned by super, super wealthy people and probably cost, more than $9,500. Mind That Bird had a 50-1 odd against him. And let's just set up the playing field here. It had rained on May 2nd prior to the Kentucky Derby. So it was a super muddy field. The legit moment the horses broke through and started racing, anyone behind number one was covered in mud and just a constant mud bath as they are going down and racing for 2 minutes. Kentucky Derby is 2 minutes long. And we've got a super muddy field. We have a horse that does not have the most perfect gait. I think it's been recorded that its actual gait turned out. So to run in a muddy field, it was that much harder for this horse. The announcer, I want you to, after you listen to this episode, I want you to go out to YouTube and type in Mind That Bird, like mine, M-I-N-E, that bird, B-I-R-D. I want you to type in Mind That Bird 2009 Kentucky Derby win, and I want you to watch, and I want you to listen, because I think listening also gives you the full picture. The announcer, who has announced the Kentucky Derby for years and years and years, early on mentions that Mind That Bird is in the very back of the pack, and does not mention Mind That Bird again until he is legitimately 6 horse lengths in front of the leader winning the Kentucky Derby. He's mentioned at the back of the pack early on, and then he completely misses Mind That Bird's climb against the rail and literally gets 6 horse lengths in front of the leader before he's mentioned. And he says out loud in the audio, "Down on the inside, coming right through, is Mind That Bird coming on to take the lead. And you guys, the lead was 6 horse lengths by the time he gets that out of his mouth. Come down to the finish in a spectacular, spectacular upset, Mind That Bird. He legit misses this horse coming on the inside and out racing the favorites of this race, and allows the horse to get 6 lengths ahead of the lead horse before realizing what horse it was, and then just says that this is a massive upset. Yeah, you completely missed in the last turn. This horse get on the inside lane and just come to life. Come to life. This horse had so many odds stacked against him. And all people could say was how the horse arrived to the Kentucky Derby in a horse trailer, driven to the Kentucky Derby. Most horses are driven to the locations they're going, except obviously the ones that arrive in planes. But that is all people could talk about, was how this horse arrived to the Kentucky Derby, to Churchill Downs, and the trainers, one of them had a broken leg or something while, getting the horse to Kentucky Derby. And then just how the horse was just lucky to win the Kentucky Derby. Well, if you have listened or watched the Kentucky Derby, you know that most people are gunning for the Triple Crown. And Mind That Bird came in second in the Preakness Stakes, which is the next race, and then came in third at Belmont Stakes. So while this horse did not take the Triple Crown, it legitimately raced its heart out at the next 2 races and came in second and third. So first at the Kentucky Derby, second at Preakness, third at the Belmont Stakes. So no, wasn't just lucky, didn't just have a good race for one day. This horse had something inside it, and beat out the odds, and just shocked the world back in 2009. Now, there have been some real shockers that have since happened at the Kentucky Derby, but prior to 2009, the last big upset was in 1913. So from 1913 to 2009, there hadn't been these huge upsets at the Kentucky Derby. Horses were performing at expectations. And in 2009, Mind That Bird completely shocked the world. And if that's not just the most powerful, courageous, extraordinary story, everyone counted the horse out except the horse and its trainer. Everyone counted out the fact, including the announcer live broadcasting the race. Nobody gave Mind That Bird a chance, except for the people that drove it there. And if that's not legendary, I don't know what is. This is how we must live our lives. You've heard me talk about keeping your horse goggles on. When I say that, I actually am referring to horse races like the Kentucky Derby. Keeping your horse goggles on, keeping your focus forward, and just doing the grind. I'm not saying I want you to hustle yourself into the dirt. I'm not saying I want you to get burned out. But what I am saying is it takes grit and determination, and it takes showing up every single day to do the work, because consistency is what matters. Showing up, doing the work, being consistent, that is what matters in life and business. If you can't show up and do the work and be consistent, you might as well not be in business. You can't expect legendary without having the courage to show up every single day and be consistent. That is what it takes to be legendary. And I feel like we all have legendary within us, but we have to get over our fear of the showing up. We have to get over our fear of imposter syndrome. We have to get over the fear of comparing our journey to a 50-1 odds horse winning the Kentucky Derby. We have to get over our fear of comparing our story to somebody's middle or to their end. Be legendary. Show up. Be consistent. Do the work. Because that's what it takes. That is what it takes to live a life with courage. Having the courage to show up. Having the courage to reach out. Having the courage to make the sales pitch. Having the courage to having courage to just be. I know you have it within you. I know we all have a little bit of mind that bird within us. And I'm so grateful to have heard this story about this specific horse, because what a story. What a story. So I want you to go out to YouTube. I want you to watch the race. I want you to listen to the announcer calling out all of the horses and the complete miss of a legendary horse. A spectacular upset. That's what we need more of. We need to continue to show up, to do the work, to be consistent, because we can have a spectacular upset ourselves. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I want to remind you, I have a brand new Facebook group I'd love for you to be a part of, bossgirlcreative.com/community. Also, my 90-day undated planner is available for you to purchase. Go to bossgirlcreative.com/BGC planner. Grab your soft cover now, and then hardback is coming. And until next time, I hope you have a great rest of your week. Oh, wait, before I go, thank you truly for your support of my own business journey and this podcast, The Purposely Aligned Entrepreneur. If you know another entrepreneur who is in the same business trenches, who has already found success but might be feeling a bit lonely in their journey, my hope is that you'll share this podcast and this sisterhood with them. Because this, what we do day in and day out, isn't meant to be done alone. Speaking of lonely, if you're ready to squash the business journey loneliness, stop what you're doing right now and join the sisterhood. Visit bossgirlcreative.com/sisterhood. I can't wait to see you in there.